I'm tired of her. It's like keeping an old toaster on the counter. Still works, but it's ugly and gets in the way. The only reason we haven't tossed it is because the kids are used to it. The moment I heard my daughter-in-law compare me to an old space heater, I knew I was done. Done being their free nanny. Done funding their Instagram-worthy events. Done pretending I didn't notice when they rolled their eyes behind my back. What Clara didn't know. I still had full control over the caterer, the venue, and the $5,000 baptism reception she thought was guaranteed. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Because this is the story of how I canceled my own granddaughter's baptism party and started the most powerful chapter of my life. Let me take you back. The baptism was supposed to be a joyful day. At least, that's what Clara kept saying every time she handed me another invoice. Evelyn, could you take care of the venue rental? It's just a small place, only 60 people. And the catering if it's not too much? You make such great roast beef, but I think guests will expect something more professional. Also the cake. We found this gorgeous one on Pinterest, 3 tiers, fondant doves, Mia's name in gold. You'll love it. In total, $1,800 for the venue, $2,400 for catering, $360 for the cake, $450 for the photographer, and another $300 for Clara's and Mia's new dresses, which she bought using my credit card just to hold and never returned. I paid everything without complaint. Because it was for Mia. Because I wanted to believe I was still wanted. Still part of something. Until the morning I stood outside the nursery with a warm bottle in one hand and heard Clara on the phone. I'm so sick of her, she whispered, giggling. She's like an old space heater. Still throws out some warmth, but no one wants to look at it. You keep it around out of guilt, not love. I stopped in my tracks. The bottle tilted. Milk dripped onto my slipper. On the other end of the line someone, probably her sister, laughed. Clara continued. Honestly, if it weren't for the kids, I'd ask Adam to put her in one of those senior apartments. She could have her own fridge to label. I turned and walked away, each step heavier than the last. Downstairs, Adam was in the kitchen, adjusting a banner that read blessed and baptized. Hey Mom. Don't forget we need to pick up the centerpieces by 4. Clara said you wanted to handle those two. I didn't respond immediately. I stared at the banner. At the edges curling in the humidity. At the colors that didn't match. I won't be picking up anything, I said. Adam looked up. What's going on? I overheard Clara just now. Stairs. He set down the tape. His mouth tightened. You were eavesdropping? I was walking with a bottle in my hand. Your daughter was hungry. I didn't expect to be compared to discarded appliances. He winced. Look, she didn't mean that. She's just overwhelmed. We both are. I raised an eyebrow. So overwhelmed she found time to insult me? Mom, please, he sighed, rubbing his forehead. Let's not do this now. Tomorrow is about Mia. It's a celebration. Let's not bring negative energy into it. Negative energy, I repeated softly. You mean my feelings? I mean, don't take it personally. It's not the time. I stared at him. My son. The baby I once held through croupy nights. The boy I stayed up for sewing Halloween costumes when money was too tight for store-bought. The man now asking me not to ruin a day I was bankrolling. You're right, I said finally. It's not the time. I turned, walked to my room and shut the door. I pulled out a legal pad. Made 2 lists. Things I paid for. Venue. $1,800. Catering. $2,400. Cake. $360. Photography. $450. Outfits. $300. Decorations. $120. Things they gave in return. Comparison to a heater. Dismissal of my feelings. No thank you card. I stared at the numbers. $5,430. I pulled up Elaine's contact in my phone. Elaine, I need to talk about the house. I want to move forward on selling my share. And I need to cancel some reservations. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just started. You. What? The venue. The food. The cake. The decor. It's all off. He lowered the tray slowly onto the counter. You can't be serious. Mom, people are flying in. Clara's mother invited her church group. Then I hope they enjoy a sermon in each other's company. There just won't be cake. Why are you doing this? Because I'm tired, Adam. I'm tired of being used. Of writing checks and being treated like wallpaper. I was compared to a broken appliance in my own home. His mouth opened, closed. She didn't mean it. She said it. And you let it stand. That's enough for me. Clara came in holding Mia. Did I just hear that you canceled the reception? Yes. You can't. People are expecting food. Party. Photos. Then they'll be disappointed. Like I've been for years. She laughed. Not kindly. You're overreacting. I grabbed my purse. No, Clara. I'm finally reacting. And with that I walked out. The silence behind me was the most honest thing I'd heard in that house in months. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I didn't call anyone. I just poured myself a cup of Earl Grey, walked into my room, the one they called the suite, but which felt more like a well-decorated storage closet, and sat down at my small desk. The teacup rattled slightly when I set it down. Not from nerves. From clarity. I opened my top drawer and pulled out the accordion folder. Inside. Deed to the house. My name listed at 49%. Email confirmations from the venue, the caterer, the decorator. All under my name. Receipts for every dollar spent on this baptism. Clara hadn't booked anything herself. Of course not. She sent links, Pinterest boards, mood boards with pastel filters. But the actual contracts? Those were mine. I flipped through the pages slowly. The folder smelled faintly of lavender and printer ink. Venue cancellation policy. 24 hours notice, partial refund. Catering 36 hours, full refund minus $200 deposit. Photographer. Flexible due to family connection. It was all so manageable. So easy. I took another sip of tea. No, I said out loud to no one in particular. I'm not feeding people who can't even stomach the sight of me. I stood up. Pulled out my phone. I didn't make any calls that night. I just sat with the folder open beside me, and for the first time in a long time, I felt something shift back into place. Something solid. I remembered the cabin I sold 3 years ago. The lake. The pine trees. The silence. How Robert and I would sit on the porch and laugh over nothing. I sold that place for them. For their down payment. For this house. $92,000. And in return, I got treated like I was something to be stepped over on the way to the high chair. I looked around the room. Clara had designed it. Soft grays, blush accents. But nothing of mine. Not one photo. Not one framed memory. Just a staged corner to tuck me in. I opened the bottom drawer. My old journals were still there. I flipped through one. March 3, 2021. Mia cried until 3 a.m. I held her. Clara didn't come downstairs once. June 18, 2022. Paid electric bill again. They don't even ask now. Just let it slip their mind. I closed the book. My hands weren't shaking. I pulled out a fresh notepad and wrote in large letters. What I will no longer do. Apologize for existing. Finance disrespect. Serve people who mock me. The list took up an entire page. I underlined the last point twice. I made myself another cup of tea. From the hallway, I heard Clara laughing with someone on the phone. Probably her sister again. Same person who laughed the first time. Yes, the cake is stunning. Of course Evelyn paid for it. I mean, what else is she good for? Baking and babysitting. That's basically it. She laughed again. I didn't even flinch this time. I walked to the mirror. Smoothed my blouse. They'll learn, I whispered. Just not the way they expect. And I smiled. Not a cruel smile, but a sure one. The next morning, they would learn the difference between kindness and permission. The sun rose like nothing had changed. Birds chirped in the tree outside the kitchen window. Someone's dog barked twice next door. But something had changed. Radically. I didn't make breakfast. I didn't load the dishwasher from last night. I didn't ask Clara if she wanted her soy latte iced or hot. I sat with my tea, opened my folder and began making calls. First up, the lavender room. Hi, this is Evelyn Carter. I need to cancel the booking for the baptism reception scheduled this Saturday. The woman on the phone hesitated. Oh, okay, ma'am. Is everything all right? Everything's just fine. I simply don't plan to host events where I'm not welcome. A pause. Understood. We'll process the cancellation and apply the refund to the original payment method. Thank you. Second, Sweet Grace Catering. Good morning, Evelyn. We were just finalizing your menu. Cancel the order. Full cancellation. Oh, did something happen? Yes. I remembered I don't need to feed people who don't think I belong at the table. She didn't ask further. One by one, the calls continued. The decorator, the chair rental company, the bakery, the balloon vendor. Each vendor polite. Some surprised. One quietly said, "Good for you." By 10:15 a.m., the baptism reception was officially gone. I sat back and took a long sip of my tea, now cooling in my hand. Then I opened my email. A short message to Elaine. Subject: House Equity Body. Ready when you are. List the 49%. Let's make it real. At 11:04 a.m., the doorbell rang. Clara. She was still in her robe, hair pinned haphazardly, mascara under her eyes. Her phone in one hand, baby monitor in the other. What did you do? I stood calm. Good morning. Don't good morning me. I just got calls from Grace, from the venue, from the balloon guy. You canceled everything? Yes. Why? Because I pay only where I'm respected. She blinked stunned. Then laughed. This is ridiculous. Petty. You're punishing everyone because you're feeling sensitive? No, Clara. I'm finally setting boundaries. She stared at me, then turned on her heel and stormed upstairs. Minutes later, Adam came down, pulling on a t-shirt. Mom, can we talk? Of course. He looked tired, unshaven. The shadows under his eyes told me he hadn't slept much. Clara's upset. Clara's actions caused consequences. That's different from being victimized. You could have talked to us. You asked me not to bring negative energy, so I removed it. He sat down across from me. Guests are flying in. Her mom is expecting a full reception. Then she can host it. You know we can't afford it. Then maybe she should have thought of that before outsourcing her entire social calendar to my bank account. Silence. Mom, you're really going through with this? I already have. His voice cracked. People will think we're broke. You are. His shoulders sank. I walked over to the window and looked out at the garden I'd once planted. Lavender still bloomed by the fence. Mia loved to pick it and hand me crumpled stems. For you, Grandma. Smells happy, she'd said. I love my granddaughter, I said quietly. But I won't host a party where I'm seen as furniture. He stood slowly. I'll talk to Clara. You do that. By afternoon, Clara posted a vague Instagram story. When people show you who they are, believe them. I posted nothing, but I slept better that night than I had in years. By Saturday morning, the baptism day, the house felt like a war zone. No smell of cinnamon rolls baking. No frantic laughter. No flowers on the kitchen table. Just tension so thick you could spread it on toast. At 7:30 a.m., Clara stormed into the kitchen in full makeup and a silk robe. You have no idea what you've done. I was calmly slicing an apple. Good morning to you too. Don't do that. Don't act like this is normal. It's not. You canceled your own granddaughter's baptism reception. No. I canceled the party. The baptism is still on. The sacrament is what matters, isn't it? Clara snorted. Easy for you to say. You're not the one being humiliated. Adam entered then, phone in hand. People are texting us asking what time to arrive. What do we tell them? That the reception was canceled, I said. Plans changed. They're going to think we're broke, Clara snapped. Do you know what it's like when your own mother-in-law ruins your reputation in front of everyone? Your reputation? Yes. The entire church is going to whisper about this for months. That we couldn't even afford sandwiches for our guests. Adam added quietly, you didn't just cancel a party. You ruined our standing in this community. I slowly set the apple slices on a napkin. Maybe, I said. It's time you learn to live without illusions. Clara stared. Excuse me. You live beyond your means. You dress up your life for Instagram and brunch tables, and you hide the truth behind candles and filters. You think reputation is built on floral arrangements and buffet spreads. It isn't. Adam looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. We were counting on this day. You were counting on me, I corrected. To fund it. To plan it. To quietly disappear behind the curtain afterward, like a stagehand. Clara's voice rose. You're selfish. You made this about you. I turned slowly. You made it about me the moment you told someone I was a useless heater you couldn't throw away. She paled. Adam stepped between us. Enough. Both of you. No, I said firmly. Not both of us. I'm done pretending I wasn't hurt. I'm done paying to be insulted. He pinched the bridge of his nose. So what? This is revenge. This is reality. Actions have consequences. You're punishing Mia. That made me pause. My voice softened. No, Adam. I'm protecting her. Because if you don't learn to value people instead of appearances, she'll grow up thinking love is transactional. I won't let that happen. For a long moment there was silence. Clara turned and walked out of the kitchen, her heels snapping hard against the wood floors. Adam sat down at the counter. He looked 10 years older than he had last week. What do we do now? You figure it out, I said. Like grown adults. He looked at me, then really looked at me. The first time in years. Are you really going to sell your share of the house? Yes. What if we find a way to buy you out? Then we'll talk. But on my terms. He nodded slowly. Later that morning, I got a call from the church coordinator. Mrs. Carter, we heard there won't be a reception. Are you all right? I'm better than I've been in a long time. At noon we stood in the church. Mia wore white. She smiled when she saw me and reached out her chubby arms. I held her during the blessing. Clara avoided my eyes. Adam did not. Afterward there was no buffet. No cake. No photographer. Just us. Just Mia. Just the people who truly mattered. That night, after the baptism service with no reception, the house was silent. No laughter, no chatter of relatives. Just the heavy quiet of embarrassment. I sat in my room, opened my laptop and pulled up Excel. First line, house contribution. $92,000. Second line, utilities, bills, emergencies. $8,400. Third line, Clara's shopping. Little extras. $4,600. Fourth line, groceries, childcare. Random rescues. $5,000. Total. $110,000 plus. I stared at the number. My chest didn't hurt. My hand didn't shake. It felt clinical. Like tallying expenses at work. I hit print screen, saved the file, and attached it to a text message. To Adam. Message. I am disappearing like you asked. And I'm taking the numbers with me. I pressed send. The 3 dots blinked for a long time. Then nothing. At 9:30 p.m. Elaine called. Evelyn, I drafted the paperwork. Tomorrow morning I'll file the intent to sell your share of the house. They'll have 30 days to respond. Perfect. Thank you. Brace yourself. They won't take this quietly. I don't expect them to. I hung up. For the first time in years I slept deeply. The next afternoon my phone rang again. Unknown number. Normally I would ignore it, but something made me answer. Evelyn? This is Margaret. Clara's mother. For a moment I said nothing. The only words that came to mind were sharp. Of course. The cavalry. What do you want, Margaret? I want to talk. Please. Just 10 minutes. Her voice was softer than I expected. Not defensive. Not demanding. Almost apologetic. I agreed to meet her at a small cafe downtown. Neutral ground. Margaret arrived in pearls and a navy blazer. Her hair sprayed into submission. But her eyes, they looked tired. Thank you for meeting me, she began, sliding into the booth across from me. I assume you're here to lecture me about ruining your daughter's big day. She shook her head. No. I'm here to thank you. That stunned me. Excuse me. Margaret stirred her tea. I raised Clara with every advantage. Boarding schools, summer trips to Europe, a trust fund she burned through by 25. And do you know what I never gave her? Consequences. I raised an eyebrow. You're admitting this now? Yes, because I watched her collapse this weekend, and I realized I've been enabling her all my life. Her hand trembled slightly as she set the spoon down. I used to think money could solve everything. A better school, a better dress, a better party. But Clara's problem isn't money. It's gratitude. And you've finally shown her what it means when the well runs dry. I sipped my coffee, studying her face. So you're not here to defend her? Margaret's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. No. I'm here to tell you, don't back down. If you cave, she'll never change. She'll blame you for another week, then move on unchanged. But if you stand your ground, she might actually grow up. I sat back, shocked. I had expected a war, not an ally. Margaret continued, lowering her voice. She called me last night, sobbing, begging me to pay you off. She even asked me to cover the buyout for your share of the house. Do you know what I told her? What? That I wouldn't spend another cent to shield her from the consequences of her behavior. I told her, your mother-in-law has done more for you in 3 years than I have in 30. Maybe it's time you respected that. For a moment I couldn't breathe. Clara's own mother was siding with me. Why are you telling me this? I asked carefully. Because I know my daughter. She'll try every manipulation in the book. Tears, guilt, threats. And she'll drag Adam along with her. But Evelyn, Margaret leaned closer. Don't let them break you. Don't give them another dollar until they learn how to earn one themselves. Her words sank in like iron. That evening Adam finally texted back. Mom, we need to talk. Clara is hysterical. She says you're destroying the family. Can you please reconsider? I stared at the screen, then typed my reply slowly. Your wife's mother already asked me not to reconsider. Think about that. No response. I closed my laptop, leaned back in my chair, and let the silence settle over me. I wasn't alone in this anymore. Clara's mother herself had confirmed what I already knew. This wasn't cruelty. It was justice. And justice, I thought, was long overdue. 2 days later, I stood in front of a modest brick apartment building 3 blocks from the library. It wasn't large, it wasn't fancy, but it was mine. The landlord, a cheerful woman named Sandra, handed me the keys. 2nd floor, corner unit. Lots of light in the mornings. I carried in the first box myself. Books. Old journals. A framed photo of Robert and me at the lake cabin. For years my things had been shoved into guest rooms, basements, closets labeled storage. Now, for the first time since my husband's death, I was unpacking into a space that belonged entirely to me. I set the photo on the windowsill. Robert's smile caught the sunlight. Well, I whispered. Looks like we finally have our own place again. The room smelled faintly of fresh paint and possibility. I brewed tea in a kitchen no one would criticize, and sat at a table no one else would clutter. For the first time in years I felt not like a guest. Not like furniture. Not like an old space heater in someone else's house. I felt like myself. And that, I thought, was the real beginning of everything that followed. It started 3 days later. I was in the garden, trimming lavender, when the van pulled up. White, with the county seal painted on the side. County Mental Health Services. 2 men in plain uniforms stepped out, followed by a woman in a gray blazer carrying a clipboard. Mrs. Carter, she called. I set down my clippers. Yes. I'm Inspector Reynolds. We've received a welfare complaint about you. We'll need to conduct an evaluation. The taller of the men shifted uncomfortably. Ma'am, if you could please come with us, we'll make this quick. I crossed my arms. On what grounds? Reynolds checked her file. Your daughter-in-law has reported erratic behavior. Claims you've been making threats, demanding money, and showing signs of mental decline. I laughed. Not bitter but sharp. Did she also report that I funded her wedding, her house, and her baby's baptism? Reynolds gave a practiced smile. We don't take sides. We just need to make sure you're safe, and that others are safe around you. The shorter man stepped forward with a stretcher belt. Ma'am, it's procedure. We'll take you in for observation. Just a few hours. I held up my hand. Before you strap me to anything, perhaps you'd like to see some actual facts. I walked inside and returned with my folder, setting it on the patio table. I slid out the spreadsheets, the deed with my name, and finally the audio recording from my phone. Clara's voice crackled through the speaker. She's like an old space heater. Still throws out some warmth, but ugly. You keep it around out of guilt. I let it play in full. The inspector's eyebrows lifted slightly. This, I continued, tapping the papers, is the $92,000 I invested in their house. These are the $18,000 in bills and little extras I covered in the past 2 years. And this, I gestured to the phone, is how they talk about me. Reynolds exhaled slowly. Mrs. Carter, if all our supposedly unstable clients presented documentation like this, my department would have nothing to do. The taller man actually chuckled. She's sharper than my supervisor. But procedure was procedure. Reynolds closed the file and looked at me with sympathy. I still have to ask you to come with us, ma'am. A short clinical exam. Once the box is ticked, this complaint will be closed. I considered refusing. But then I thought of the satisfaction of walking out with a clean bill of health, documented and signed. Fine, I said. Let's go. But I'm not riding in the back like a criminal. The county clinic smelled like disinfectant and lemon polish. A nurse took my vitals, then ushered me into a small room with pale green walls. A doctor with kind eyes entered, carrying a thin folder. Mrs. Carter, I'm Dr. Patel. I understand your family is concerned about your mental health. Let's do a quick evaluation, all right? By all means, I said, folding my hands neatly in my lap. He began gently. Can you tell me today's date? July 14th, 2023. And where are we right now? County Mental Health Services Clinic. Room 3 if the sign outside is correct. He smiled faintly. And who is the current president? Depends who you ask, but officially? Joe Biden. He scribbled a note, then looked up. Do you know why you're here today? Yes. Because my daughter-in-law doesn't like that I stopped paying her bills. Dr. Patel chuckled despite himself. That's a refreshingly clear answer. He asked me to recall 3 words. Apple, penny, chair. And then repeat them after 5 minutes. I repeated them without hesitation. He asked me to spell world backwards. I did it in under 5 seconds. Then he leaned back, set his pen down and said, Mrs. Carter, let me be blunt. You are lucid, oriented, and perfectly capable of managing your own affairs. This complaint was exaggerated. Exaggerated. I arched a brow. Weaponized, more like, he admitted softly. I'm sorry you had to endure this. He signed the form and handed me a copy. You are free to go. No restrictions. When the van dropped me back home, Clara was on the porch, arms crossed. Adam hovered behind her. Well, she demanded. I held up the form. Certified sane. Sorry to disappoint you. Adam's face flushed with shame. Clara's hardened. You made fools of us, she hissed. No, Clara, I said evenly. You did that yourself. I just made sure it was documented. I walked inside, the form still in my hand, already thinking of how useful it would be when the next battle began. By the following week, the house no longer felt like a home. Felt like a cage. And Adam and Clara were the ones rattling the bars. Elaine had filed the papers. As a 49% co-owner, I had officially blocked any financial activity connected to the house. They couldn't sell it. They couldn't refinance. They couldn't even take out a home equity loan without my signature. Which, of course, I would never give. The bank called Adam on Tuesday to inform him that their refinancing application had been frozen pending ownership dispute. His voice carried through the kitchen walls as he argued on the phone. But my mom doesn't even live here anymore. Why should she know? Listen, she's not reasonable. Yes, I understand. Thank you. When he hung up, the silence was heavy. For once, Clara didn't speak. By Thursday, Clara tried to save face another way. She marched into the office of St. Matthew's Church, the same one where Mia had been baptized, without a reception, and asked to rent the parish hall for Mia's upcoming first birthday. 100 guests, a catered buffet, balloon walls, a custom cake, her usual style. The secretary, a kind woman named Mrs. Diaz, looked apologetic as she folded her hands. I'm sorry, Clara, but we can't accept your booking. Clara blinked. Why not? We're members of this parish. Mrs. Diaz lowered her voice. Because the last event you scheduled, the baptism reception, was canceled last minute. The church had to absorb the costs of extra staff. Vendors complained. It reflects poorly on us. Clara's cheeks flamed. That wasn't me. That was my mother-in-law. I understand, Mrs. Diaz said gently, but the reservation was under your household. We can't risk it again. I hope you understand. Clara left the office fuming. By evening, everyone at the parish knew. The whispers followed her like smoke. Unreliable. Untrustworthy. Broke. Friday night, Adam came to my apartment. He stood in the doorway, shoulders slumped, holding a six-pack of cheap beer. He hadn't looked that boyish and lost since high school. Mom, can I come in? Of course. He sat heavily at the kitchen table, staring at his hands. We're stuck. We can't refinance. We can't sell. Clara's furious. Everyone at church thinks we're broke. And maybe we are. I sipped my tea, letting the words hang. Sounds difficult. He looked up sharply. Don't you care? I care about Mia. I care about you. I don't care about Clara's reputation or your brunch invitations. Mom, please. You've made your point. We need help. I leaned forward. Do you know how many times I paid your bills without telling you? How many times I covered your shortfalls so you wouldn't feel the sting of reality? I thought I was protecting you. I was only delaying this moment. He swallowed. What do you want from me? Honesty. Responsibility. And for once in your life, Adam, I want you to stand up to your wife and admit that all of this, isn't my fault. He rubbed his temples. She won't listen. Then maybe you should ask yourself why you married someone who won't. For the first time, he didn't defend Clara. He just sat there, shoulders bowed, the weight of his choices pressing him down. That night, after Adam left, I looked out at the garden in the moonlight. The lavender swayed gently. I thought of Mia, of the life she would inherit. And I knew one thing for certain. This blockade wasn't cruelty. It was the first real gift of love I had given my son in years. We met in Elaine's office on a rainy Wednesday afternoon. The dark wood paneling and heavy leather chairs gave the room the gravity of a courtroom. Adam and Clara sat across from me, looking less polished than I had ever seen them. Adam's shirt was wrinkled. Clara's eyeliner smudged beneath tired eyes. Elaine spread the documents on the table. As you know, Mrs. Carter owns 49% of the property. You have two options: buy out her share or agree to sell the house. However, she glanced at me, Mrs. Carter has proposed an alternative arrangement. I leaned forward, folding my hands. Yes, I will agree to a buyout, but only under strict conditions. Clara rolled her eyes. Here we go. Adam elbowed her lightly. Let's just hear her out. Condition 1. I began, my voice steady. Clara, you will get a job. Not tomorrow, not someday. Within 60 days. And you will keep it. A real income, reported, taxed. You will contribute. Clara's jaw dropped. Excuse me? I'm a full-time mother. I didn't blink. So was I, Clara. But I also worked nights cleaning offices and weekends baking pies to sell, just to keep this family afloat. You're not special. You're spoiled. Her mouth opened, then closed. For once, she had no quick retort. Condition 2, I continued, turning to Adam. You will stop using my credit cards. Permanently. I've already canceled the ones you had. From now on, if you want to swipe, it will be your own account. Adam flushed. Mom, sometimes emergencies. Emergencies are when the roof caves in or when a child is sick. Not when Clara wants a new purse or you want a bigger TV. Those days are over. Elaine nodded and scribbled a note. Condition 3? Every month, I said, you will send Elaine full financial statements, bank accounts, credit reports, proof of income, proof of debt payments. If I see one lie, one hidden account, one missed report, this entire deal is null and we go straight to market sale. Adam's shoulders slumped. Clara muttered something under her breath, but I continued. And finally, condition 4. No more events charged to me. No birthdays, no anniversaries, no charity dinners with balloon arches. If you can't pay for it yourselves, it doesn't happen. Clara slammed her hand on the table. That's insane. You're turning us into children with an allowance. No, I said softly. I'm treating you like adults with accountability. Something you should have learned long ago. The room went quiet except for the scratching of Elaine's pen. Adam finally spoke. And if we follow these conditions? Then I accept a reduced buyout. $75,000 instead of full market value. You'll get to keep your house, your reputation, your precious lifestyle. But only if you earn it. Clara's face twisted. You're humiliating us. I looked her straight in the eye. No, Clara. I'm saving you. Humiliation is a party you can't pay for. Accountability is what keeps you from repeating the same mistakes. Elaine slid the papers across the table. If you agree, sign here. If not, the house goes on the market. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Adam picked up the pen. His signature scratched across the page. Clara hesitated, then followed. Her lips pressed so tightly together they turned white. Elaine gathered the papers. Congratulations. You've just signed yourselves into adulthood. I stood, smoothed my blouse, and walked out without another word. The rain had stopped. The air smelled clean. For the first time I thought maybe, just maybe, they were going to learn. 2 months after we signed the agreement, I was sipping tea in my apartment when I got an email from Elaine. Subject: October report incomplete. Missing second bank account statement and employment verification for Clara. At first I assumed it was an oversight. People forget things. Maybe she was just late. I texted Adam. Hey, Elaine says the report's incomplete. Can you send the missing documents? 10 minutes later he replied. We sent everything. She probably missed it. I wasn't convinced. So I called Elaine directly. Her tone was clipped professional. Evelyn, I only received one bank statement, and frankly it raised more questions than it answered. No paycheck deposits. No income from Clara. Just a list of expenses, salons, grocery deliveries, and a $470 charge to Maison Fleur. For flowers. That doesn't look like someone taking this agreement seriously. My stomach sank but my voice stayed steady. Thank you, Elaine. That's all I needed. An hour later I stood on their doorstep. Clara opened the door in a silk robe, face mask still on, phone in hand. She looked genuinely surprised to see me. Oh, Evelyn. I wasn't expecting company. Clearly not, I said, stepping inside. I imagine it's hard to keep up with schedules when you're not working. She frowned. Excuse me. You told me you were applying for jobs. It's been 2 months. I still haven't seen a single pay stub, contract, or even a basic offer letter. Elaine never received anything either. And the bank statement you submitted? It conveniently excluded your second card. The one you used to buy nearly $500 worth of flowers from Maison Fleur. Her face tightened. Those were a gift for a friend's birthday. And I didn't hide anything. That account just doesn't have much activity, that's all. Clara, I said calmly, we agreed on full transparency. Every account, every expense. You signed a legal document. If you wanted to go back to hiding purchases and calling them gifts, you should have never picked up that pen. She crossed her arms. I didn't think you'd be combing through everything like some kind of forensic accountant. I thought you trusted us. I stepped closer, not threatening, just steady. Trust isn't something you're entitled to. It's something you earn. And you've done nothing to earn it. Adam walked in then, holding Mia. His eyes flicked from me to Clara. What's going on? Your wife is violating the agreement we all signed, I said, never breaking eye contact with her. No job, hidden accounts, unreported spending. She lied. And you let it happen. Adam's expression tensed. Clara, is that true? Clara shifted. I didn't lie. I just didn't think every little thing mattered. I mean, it's not like I'm bankrupting anyone over flowers. No, I said. But you're bankrupting the last of my goodwill. That matters. I reached into my bag, pulled out a folder, and placed it on the counter. These are the documents Elaine has. You have 24 hours to submit everything properly, including proof of employment and both bank accounts. If I don't receive it, Elaine will file the notice to list the house for sale. And this time there will be no discounted buyout. No special terms. You will get the real cost of consequences. Clara's voice rose behind me as I walked to the door. You can't be serious. You wouldn't really do that to us. You love Mia. I turned back, eyes steady. I do love Mia. And that's exactly why I will do it. And then I left. Quietly. Without yelling. Without a single doubt. Just like I promised I would. It took less than 48 hours. 2 days after I walked out, after I laid down the final line in the sand, Adam knocked on my door. He wasn't holding beer this time. No charm, no excuses. Just a folder in one hand and a haunted look in his eyes. Can I come in? I stepped aside. He sat at my kitchen table, the same one that had seen more dignity in 6 months than their dining room had in years, and placed the folder between us. That's everything. Clara's employment contract. Full bank statements. No more missing pages. No more surprises. I didn't touch the folder. Just watched him. He swallowed. I told her she had to do it. That if she didn't take this seriously, I'd walk away too. That caught me off guard. You said that to her? His eyes met mine. Yeah, 'cause you were right. About everything. I let her turn our life into a stage play, and I let you become the unpaid crew. Silence. Not cold, just heavy. Then he added, quieter. She cried, you know. Not fake tears. Real ones. She said she finally understands what it means to lose respect, not just from others but from herself. I exhaled, not quite believing it. And you? Adam nodded slowly. I've been carrying a lot of guilt, Mom. For years. I kept thinking the best way to protect my family was to keep the peace. But all I was doing was enabling the problem. He finally pushed the folder toward me. This isn't just paperwork. It's a start. A small one. But we're ready to start over on your terms. The right terms. I opened the folder. Everything was there. The real numbers. The real job. Nothing fancy but honest. Then he said something I never expected to hear from his mouth. Thank you for cutting us off. I raised an eyebrow. That's a strange thank you. No, he said. It's the truest one I've ever given. Later that afternoon, Clara came by. No makeup. No silk robe. No rehearsed lines. Just Clara, in jeans and a sweater holding a paper bag. I brought you something. She handed it over. Inside. A lavender candle and a handwritten note. I used to think love meant comfort. You showed me it means accountability. She looked me in the eyes. Really looked. I don't expect you to forgive me overnight. But I'm not asking for money anymore. I'm asking for a second chance. Not as your daughter-in-law. As a woman who's finally ready to grow up. I didn't hug her. I didn't cry. I just nodded. You'll earn it. The same way I earned mine. 6 months later, things weren't perfect. But they were real. Clara had a job, part-time at a local bakery. She smelled like flour and vanilla and started sending me texts like, just thinking of you. Or, Mia asked for Grandma's tea again. Adam took over managing their finances. No more secret cards. No more quiet withdrawals from my dignity. And Mia? She turned 3 in February. Her party was modest. Cupcakes, paper crowns, and laughter that didn't feel forced. When she saw me, she ran across the room, arms wide, shouting, "My grandma!" That was the moment I knew I'd done the right thing. That the legacy I was leaving wasn't money or parties or status. It was this. A family that learned the hard way that love without respect is just dependency in disguise. That day, Clara handed me a small box. Inside, a key. To your room at our house. If you ever want it. Not because we need you, but because we want you. I didn't say yes. But I didn't say no. Sometimes the best revenge isn't walking away. It's showing people how to come back right. And sometimes the most powerful kind of love is the one that demands better and waits for them to rise to it. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. And tell me, what's your turning point?